Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are completely re-evaluating a food I know you've heard of. You've probably eaten it, and honestly, you might even be a little sick of hearing about it over the last decade. But listen, we aren't looking at this through the lens of some passing trendy diet. Instead, we're putting kale, the ultimate green warrior of the garden, under the microscope of ancient functional medicine.
Let's just be totally honest with each other for a second. For a while there, kale was absolutely everywhere. It was printed on t-shirts, it was blended into every single cafe smoothie, and it really felt like you couldn't even walk into a restaurant without someone trying to sell you a $12 kale salad. So it is incredibly easy to feel a little bit of fatigue around the whole thing. But now that the massive hype has finally settled down, we have to ask a serious question. Was all of this just excellent PR, or is this plant actual biological medicine? Well, today we are breaking down the hard science to find out exactly that.
Okay, let's dive right in with Section 1, the Green Warrior's Legacy.
To truly appreciate what this plant is doing inside our bodies today, we really have to look at where it came from. Because kale is definitely not some exotic laboratory creation. No, it is a direct descendant of wild cabbage. If we go all the way back to ancient times, in the Eastern Mediterranean and Asia, this amazingly cold-hardy vegetable was a literal lifeline. It kept people nourished through brutal, freezing winters when almost nothing else would grow. By the Middle Ages, it had become this legendary food staple across Northern Europe. Then, fast forward to the 1940s, during the intense scarcity of World War II, governments actually mandated that people grow kale in their victory gardens, explicitly calling it medicine for the people. And today? It's this modern garden survivor that overwinters on the freezing coast, completely outlasts the frost, and is often the very first green to shoot up in the spring. It is the ultimate survivor.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate nutrient powerhouse.
So we know it has this incredible historical legacy, right? It stood right beside humanity through droughts and world wars. But to really understand the hype, we need to look at how nutritional efficiency is actually measured in the scientific community. Enter the Aggregate Nutrient Density Index, or the ANDI score. This is a brilliant system that rates our foods on a scale from 1 to 1,000. But here's the kicker. It doesn't just measure total vitamins, it measures nutrient content strictly per calorie. So it's a true measure of absolute dietary efficiency. And on that ANDI scale, kale scores a perfect 1,000. Let that sink in for a second. 1,000 out of 1,000, a flawless score. This means that kale is scientifically recognized as one of the most efficient nutrient delivery systems on the entire planet. You're getting the absolute maximum amount of vital nutrients for the lowest possible caloric cost. It's a biological bargain. Now, what's really interesting is when you break that perfect score down into a real-world serving, the efficiency is just stunning. In a standard 100-gram serving of raw kale, you are only looking at 35 calories. Just 35. Yet packed within that tiny little caloric footprint is 3.6 grams of digestive fiber and nearly 3 grams of protein. Because of its extremely low energy density, combined with all that water and fiber, kale provides incredible physical volume and satiety. It fills you up completely without weighing you down with excess calories.
But the vitamin breakdown, that is where the stats are genuinely surprising. Think about it. If I asked you to name a food packed with vitamin C, you would almost certainly say an orange, right? Everyone does. Yet a single serving of kale delivers a massive 133% of your daily value, actively beating out the standard citrus. No way, right? But it's true.
And it keeps going. What about eye health? We always hear about carrots for our eyes. Well, for an equivalent amount of calories, kale holds its own beautifully, delivering 56% of your daily value of vitamin A. Plus, it is absolutely loaded with eye-protecting phytonutrients like lutein and zeaxanthin, which actively strengthen the retina and provide crucial resilience as we age. It really is an absolute powerhouse.
All right, let's get into Section 3, gut, brain, and inflammation.
Because basic vitamins, they are just the beginning. Modern science is bridging raw plant chemistry directly to cellular longevity, gut health, and reducing inflammation. And this is where kale shows its true biological intelligence. Inside every single leaf are these sulfur-rich compounds known as glucosinolates. The magic happens the exact moment you cut, chew, or blend the leaf. That mechanical action causes the plant's enzymes to literally spring to life, converting those glucosinolates into something called indole-3-carbinol. This natural compound is heavily studied for its incredible ability to support deep cellular detoxification, and it plays a highly vital role in healthy estrogen metabolism. The plant actually adapts its chemistry to our bodies the second we start eating it. How cool is that?
Next up, we really have to talk about inflammation.
As you probably know, this is the silent culprit behind so many long-term chronic health issues today. Well, kale comes to the rescue here, with powerful antioxidant flavonoids, specifically quercetin and camphorol. Think of these guys as your cellular fighter-fighters. They actively travel through your system, neutralizing damaging free radicals and putting out the oxidative stress fires caused by our modern environments.
And then there is bone density. We usually think of dairy when we hear about bones, but vitamin K is just as critical, and kale delivers an unbelievable 325% of your daily value. Vitamin K basically acts as the calcium traffic cop in your body. It explicitly directs calcium straight into your bones where you actually want it to build strength, rather than letting it dangerously build up as plaque inside your arterial walls. So it's a massive, massive win for both your heart and your skeleton.
Which brings us to Section 4, busting the thyroid myth.
So with all these amazing, undeniable benefits, why do some people still actively avoid it? We've got to address the elephant in the room here. There is this persistent myth claiming that eating raw kale will destroy your thyroid because of compounds called goitrogens. Well, what's the truth? Yes, goitrogens do exist in cruciferous vegetables, but clinical dietitians universally agree that you would need to eat literally several pounds of raw kale every single day to cause any actual harm to your thyroid. So the crucial point is a normal daily portion is perfectly safe. And hey, if you are still worried, or maybe you have an existing thyroid condition, simply steaming or lightly sautéing the kale significantly removes that risk by dropping the goitrogen levels. Easy fix.
Okay, moving on to Section 5, hacks for maximum absorption.
Because eating kale is great, but preparing it strategically so you actually absorb all those nutrients we just talked about, that is where the real science is applied. Step 1 is simply buying the right tool for the job, and you have options here. Curly kale is the robust, classic variety. It holds up amazingly well in heavy stews or baked into crispy chips. But if that's a bit too tough for you, look for lacinato, which is also known as dinosaur kale. It has flatter, darker leaves and a sweeter, much earthier flavor that's absolutely great for raw salads. And if you just want to blend it up without any gritty texture at all, grab the tender baby kale for your morning smoothies.
Now, let's move to the kitchen and see how this all builds into the ultimate daily meal. One of the biggest mistakes people make with this stuff is ignoring nutrient pairing. Kale is packed with non-heme iron, which plants hold on to really tightly. To unlock that iron, you must pair it with vitamin C, like a quick squeeze of fresh lemon juice. And to unlock the fat-soluble vitamins A and K, you absolutely need a healthy fat, like extra virgin olive oil. Toss in some chickpeas for a protein boost, and right there, you have crafted the perfectly bioavailable power bowl. You aren't leaving any nutrients on the table.
But look, even with the perfect ingredients, raw, unprepped kale can sometimes feel a bit like chewing on tree bark. So what's the secret? The 60-second massage. Seriously. Add your olive oil and a pinch of salt directly to the raw leaves, and literally massage them with your bare hands for about a minute. And this brilliantly illustrates the science we talked about earlier. You will actually watch the tough cellulose break down right in front of you. The volume shrinks by half, and the color turns this vibrant dark green. It makes the leaves incredibly tender and highly digestible.
But I will say, even when prepared perfectly, kale still has this slightly earthy, bitter boldness to it, and we really shouldn't try to hide that. In a modern world that has practically bred all the bitterness out of our diets, we need to remember this fantastic quote: "Healing isn't always sweet, sometimes it bites back." Bitter foods are kind of a forgotten teaching. Hitting those bitter receptors on your tongue actually stimulates your digestion and awakens your body's natural bile to metabolize fats way more efficiently.
So, the final verdict is completely clear here. Kale is absolutely not just some passing PR trend. It is a true ancient ally for our cellular health. So I want to leave you with a challenge. How will you biohack your green warrior this week? Go out, buy a fresh bunch of kale, try out that 60-second massage hack with some olive oil and lemon, and just see how your body responds. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. If you want to keep optimizing your learning, make sure to hit subscribe for more of these deep dives. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll catch you next time.